At the end of your movie, I thought I should feel depressed, and yet strangely I wasn't.
Yeah, that's kind of one of those things, right? It's like it's really, you're witnessing the passing of a human being, and somehow there's hope in it. And I think that was a goal sort of from the beginning. The story itself is really, it's based around the story of my grandfather. It's dedicated to him. The film is dedicated to him, and the the sort of like hopeful feelings that came about with this, even though it's a sort of, often these stories of like Alzheimer's and dementia lean towards, the sad sort of like depressing side of it. And I just sort of, I didn't necessarily find that to be the case with my grandfather. Of course it's sad, but there was this sort of, I don't know, it sort of brought the family together in this way. We had some really serious conversations that kind of led to like a deeper growth between all the rest of us. So I guess I wanted to sort of instill that part, in the story. So
Well, and also a life not lived in vain.
exactly, totally, yes.
All right, let's go into some of these characters now. Was Jim Gaffigan someone you had in mind for this kind of role right from the start?
Yeah, I mean, he was definitely in this sort of category of folks. Of course, as you're casting, you never really know who's available and who is going to be interested. But this idea of having a comedian in the role was actually quite an early sort of thought process for me. I wanted a comedian because, well, frankly, because comedians have this kind of exterior of levity and sort of kindness, but inside they're often, some of the sort of, their hopes and dreams are sort of really evident in that sort of like right behind the scenes. And I think that Jim Gaffigan really knocked this role out of the park. He also played the dual role performance in the piece, and yeah, I sort of at this point I can't even really imagine any other person playing the role, frankly.
And interestingly enough, with Gaffigan and comedians, when he's on stage, when a comedian is on stage, everything that's all the turmoil that's going on in the background is not there. You don't know that it's going on, and that's the same thing that's going on with Gaffigan's character.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad you picked up on that, Al, for sure. I think that he brought a certain groundedness to his performance. Well, both really, and this kind of dichotomy. It was really interesting because obviously the one character is more Gaffigan-esque, the main character, and the other one he put on a mustache, wig, and a hair wig, and he really, I mean, turned into a different person. Even on set, like he put on this really kind of serious tone, and I didn't want to eat lunch with him and stuff. It's kind of one of those things when he was in that character. He really embodied it, and I think people don't really know that Jim has such range, but he really shows it in this film.
Did he like being a bad guy?
He loved being a bad guy. He absolutely loved it. I think he loved the challenge of that, because it's not necessarily, it's sort of this really heightened version of a certain piece of his personality. I think we all have that kind of thing in us, but it's about sort of like how much we choose to express that side. And I think that he enjoyed the challenge. I definitely think he enjoyed the challenge. There's scenes where obviously he talks to himself, where we had a body double and all that kind of thing. So that was a whole nother challenge, but it was all fun.
He's a dad. I know he's a dad himself.
Yes.
Did he bring any of that into the movie?
Well, actually, Linda, he brought two of his kids into the movie. So that little boy character is played by six different actors, actually, and two of them were his kids. But beyond that, but he has that sort of like fatherly love, and he showed that to our crew. He showed that as we were collaborating with the other actors. It was certainly present. This sort of like, keeping everybody together, keeping everybody happy. I mean, it was really like he was doing stand-up between takes, like it was great, like our blooper reel is the best thing ever.
Speaking of the kids, your actress who plays Nora, um, I always hesitate to equate roles with other movies, but right now, Licorice Pizza is wonderful. That wonderful female role in Licorice Pizza, I think translates very well to your Nora in this movie.
Sure.
Terrific.
Yeah, you know, Nora is played by Caitlin Nacon, and she is just, she's got this like pizzazz. I mean, she really like steals the show in this way that I like at our premiere screening, like she was the one getting all the laughs and Gaffigan was not. It was kind of he wasn't not getting laughs, but it was like, it was, her character is really sort of like this, you know, kind of, she's really got that teenage kind of like confusion going on, but channels it into this kind of like confidence, you know? And that was really fun to watch. She was great to work with and such a gem, such a hard worker too.
And she's the good observer. She knows what's going on.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that kind of like introspective quality, I think all these characters were great. You know, Jim, Ray Seahorn, everybody was great with, you know, presenting something, like putting on this facade that wasn't quite what was happening behind the scenes. And I think that subtext is what really made the performances stand out in that way. And I think Caitlin did a really great job with that subtext.
Was your protagonist, was Edwin ever anything else except an astronaut wannabe? Did you ever have him in any other field other than this?
You know, that's a great question, Al. I've never been asked that. He, yes, for a while was like a science teacher, you know, and for like about a year or two, as I first started writing the script, he was a science teacher. And then I remembered my favorite part about science was Bill Nye the Science Guy. And I had watched every episode of Bill Nye the Science Guy. You know, I would get home from school and watch Bill Nye. I liked it so much. You know, it was like, it wasn't an academic thing for me. It was a fun thing for me. And so I realized like, that's really where he can shine in terms of like, you know, showing this kind of personality that you're seeing the Cameron that he wants to be, you know, this kind of like really light, kind of comedic, fun, you know, guy who really is showing that science can be, you know, fun. And I think that's it was just honestly like it was a blast just to sort of play in that world, you know, that little sandbox of a world. So
I wanted to talk a little bit about Tony Shalhoub.
Oh, yes.
of course, the great Tony Shalhoub. He came in for a day for us, so it was kind of a whirlwind with him in the best way. But I just remember there was one time we were doing a take. He was a very serious guy, you know, but what would light up, you know, outside. But he took his job very seriously, and in the best way. And I remember we were doing one take, and I was just about to call action. I was like, okay, camera's rolling, sound's rolling, okay, and he just goes, Colin, and he gives me one of these, and then he just goes. For about 20 seconds, dead silence on set. Everybody's just looking at him, and then he just opens his eyes, looks at me, and nods. And I was like, action. And he just delivered the best performance. And we used like, that's pretty much the entire performance that we used was that take.